And being the second Friday morning of the month, our great friend Kelli Kieselbach, naturopath and nutritionist, is joining us this morning with Naturally Speaking. Kelli, how you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you going?
I'm going great. All the better to see your face this morning here on Rhema. And of course, look, we've got a massive topic. I've been sort of talking about this one already, to do with integrative medicine, and
Yep.
it's a pretty big topic. But for people who are really, I guess, on the health path, on the health journey, they really want to make sure that they're doing the best thing for them. I guess before we jump in, obviously we are hearing a lot more about that integrative and holistic healthcare. So what does that actually look like in practice? And I guess it's probably a little bit different from the conventional model that most people are used to.
Yeah, so when we talk about integrative healthcare or integrative medicine, it's about combining our conventional care, what we're used to in our Western medicine care, with evidence-informed natural approaches. So incorporating the nutrition, incorporating the lifestyle and herbal medicine. It's about taking the best from both worlds. So it's not about, one or the other, but combining them to really get the best outcomes, basically. So in a conventional model, it's often very symptom focused. It can be time limited as well. With a more holistic model, we're looking a little bit deeper. We're looking at why the symptoms are happening. And we're considering the whole person in that. So what's their diet like, their stress, their sleep, their gut health, their hormones, what's happening in their external environment that could be contributing to their health. So really taking that whole person picture. And also having a little bit more emphasis on prevention as well as treatment. Yeah.
So again, yeah, definitely a difference there if you really break it down and look at the nuts and bolts of things. I mean, I guess a lot of people, I've heard this over the years. I've probably even said it myself. It's like, just go to the doctor, man. They'll just throw another pill at you. A lot of people sort of come out with that. But these days, thankfully, that is, and look, if you do need to take prescribed medication for things, probably always a good idea to keep doing those things. That is a great way to go about it. But
absolutely.
But again, looking more at the whole person and lifestyle factors and everything else that go into that is such a great way to go about it these days. And so, what are some of the I guess the common misconceptions or concerns that people have? Maybe about working with a naturopath or even taking that sort of more holistic approach to their health.
Yeah, well, I think there's a few things that pop up frequently that I've noticed with people. One is that people thinking that I'll have to give up everything that I enjoy.
Right.
Not true. We're focused on balance, not perfection. So, that's really important aspect. Also, the fact that natural means that it's safe for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And while a lot of our natural approaches do have a greater safety profile, they are still medicines. They are still having an impact on our physiology. So it is really important that people are aware that more is not always better and that they need to work with someone to monitor some of those things. The other misconception is that if I work with a naturopath or take a holistic approach, that I'll need to stop all my conventional medicines. That is absolutely not true. As you said before, sometimes these medicines are necessary and very helpful and useful, but it's about building up those other foundational factors around them. So building up the nutrition, the lifestyle supports around that. I think the other, and this is a big one, is that it's not evidence-based. So certainly there is a spectrum. I know some naturopaths will be, much more traditional than others, but modern naturopaths are trained to a very high standard in health sciences, nutrition science, herbal medicine, pharmacology as well. So then there's a really huge growing body of evidence around various herbal medicines, various diet strategies and foods, therapeutic foods. So that's a big one that is still quite pervasive, I think, as well. And probably the other thing is a fear of being judged. Sometimes people come in as like, oh, you probably never seen a diet as bad as mine. And I'm like, oh, try me. Nobody's perfect. We're all human, and a good practitioner will meet you where you're at. And, my diet's not perfect. My lifestyle isn't perfect, but we do our best with what we've got. And it's about just, accumulating making those little changes that support us.
Yeah, and look, I love that you just said that there. You made a point about, obviously you make do with what you've got, and I think a lot of people probably could be, they could be turned off by costings and all that kind of stuff as well, going out and buying extra supplements and trying to change the diet hugely. And it's like, well, hang on a second, let's have a look at what you've got right now, and let's work with that to start with. So,
and I think that's another big misconception is people come in to seeing a naturopath, or they put off seeing a naturopath because they think it's going to mean a massive overhaul of their whole life, their whole diet. They're going to have to change everything all at once. And it's not like that, or it shouldn't be like that. It's certainly not like that with my patients, my clients. It's about working with them within the capacity that they have. What do they have to do right now? What can they afford? What's their mental load like? How much change can they realistically make at this time? And then we work with it.
Yep, absolutely. Now, look, if if somebody wants to start looking past, as we mentioned earlier, about one of those particular models where it's basically just symptom management, what are some of the important things that they should understand about, that sort of root cause, the whole person approach that, someone like yourself would take?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to understand is to remember that symptoms are often signals, or they're feedback from the body. So they're not the problem themselves, but they give us clues as to what's happening on a deeper level. And so we're really trying to address that. There's also usually multiple systems involved. So in a Western context, we think about things in a very reductionist way, particularly when it comes to health and the body. But we understand that all the systems and organs work together and everything has a flow-on effect. So that's really important to understand. Also, there is rarely a quick fix. I would love to say that there's like a magic pill to everything. But, if you want to do that deeper work and get long-term change and sustainable results, it can take time. And it can take some consistency as well and some patience in that. In saying that, I have witnessed myself how powerful nutrition and herbal medicine and lifestyle change can be for some people. And so it's not always a slow journey, but it can be.
Yeah.
And individualization in terms of your treatment and your approach can be really important as well, because we're all unique individuals. We have different health histories, we're at different life stages. There's so many different genetics. So, how we approach our health can vary from individual to individual. And that's a really important thing to think about and understand as well.
It's amazing. I just sort of reflecting on that, we live in a society today that is, I think we've advanced to the point where we are expecting things to happen almost instantaneously. We pick up our phone, we jump online, whatever the case may be. We want our results right now, our answers right now for everything. And unfortunately, that I think we're translating that onto medicine and onto our lifestyle journey. It's like, well, the human body doesn't really work like that, does it? There is the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many factors, often we're trying to balance so many different physiological factors, but also make so many different changes, and we can be up against a lot of different variables in our modern lifestyle as well. So unfortunately there's no quick fixes, but change can also be quite significant with small consistent changes.
Yep. And that's where it usually starts, isn't it? It's like with everything. If you want to get to the gym and get fit, you won't do it in a week.
Take it one day at a time.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
exactly
you're in
right.
it for the long game. Yeah, that's right.
Yep, 100%. Now, look, so how can nutrition and that sort of more targeted supplementation actually work alongside those conventional medications that we may have to take and in a really safe and supportive way?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're using nutrition or supplements alongside medications, one of the benefits is that, when we're doing that, we're often trying to target or address the underlying causes. whereas often, not always, but the medications will be more about symptom management and helping you feel more comfortable. So we can really go a bit deeper when we're using nutrition and certain supplements alongside. We can also help with offsetting or helping to reduce side effects as well. Mm-hmm. So many medications will cause a reduction in certain nutrients, so they can cause nutrient depletions, or they can cause unwanted side effects. They might cause gastrointestinal disturbance. So we can really support that to reduce side effects and make sure that we're still supporting those systems and making sure you're still nutritionally replete as well. It can also help, particularly when you're working with a practitioner, and this is where it becomes really important, that we can help you check for medication interactions. So if you are going to be using supplements particularly or special diets, then it's important that you understand what those things are doing, but also to make sure that they are safe with the conventional medications or treatments that you're already using as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, look, that's so interesting to me because, again, that's where you often get the tension of, oh, okay, I've got to take my medication, but I would love to also take some supplements because I know that they're obviously a lot more natural and different things like that. So, maybe even just having a chat with your GP or even, if you can find yourself a good integrative medicine doctor is always a big deal, or finding a naturopath, a nutritionist, whatever the case may be, to actually help you on that journey and really to put your mind at ease and say, well, obviously some of the supplements actually really enhance the effects of the medication. And again, there's others that really help with the side effects too. So if you're brave enough to have the conversations, go for it.
Actually, that's a really good point. There are certain studies out there that have looked at using certain supplements alongside conventional medications and been shown to improve the effectiveness of the medication. So particularly with things like antidepressants, we see that using, supplementing folate or fish oil and certain strains of probiotics have actually improved the effectiveness and enhanced the results. So that can be a really important factor as well. And if you are working with a naturopath or a nutritionist, we're trained to sort of assess and, check for interactions and assess the safety of using certain things, and also make sure that, sometimes it comes down to dosing and the form and, what's actually going to help you get better results on top of what you're already doing.
Yep, absolutely. Now, well, let's hold it on that point because I really want to get back into that one. So we'll take a short break. We are joined by our great friend, naturopath and nutritionist Kelli Kieselbach with Naturally Speaking. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this. It is Naturally Speaking. Our great friend, very special guest this morning, Kelli Kieselbach, is joining us. And Kelli, we were obviously talking about integrative medicine before then. Look, this is such a great topic. We could podcast this for an hour and a half at least. And just get warmed up, but obviously time restraints. But let's jump back in because, like, a lot of people, they prescribe medications for, things like statins, proton pump inhibitors, and I think from memory they are the two most commonly prescribed medications in Australia, or class of medications at the moment. So, what are they typically used for, and what actually might be happening in the body underneath those conditions?
Well, yes, you're right. They are very commonly prescribed. So statins are used to lower cholesterol levels, which is seen as a risk factor for cardiovascular disease. So the goal there is to try and reduce one of the risk factors. What can be happening underneath in terms of, when people do have high cholesterol, it could be related to inflammation, to blood sugar dysregulation, to stress, to diet, genetics. There's a lot of factors that can be driving that. So this is one of those situations where they're using the medication to reduce the risk and to address the symptom, but underlying that, we need to get down to that root cause and say, okay, let's address why it's high in the first place. Your proton pump inhibitors, these are reflux and heartburn medications, often prescribed for GORD or gastroesophageal reflux disease.
Well done.
So, yeah. And They are designed for, so now the recommendation really for short-term use. So up to 6 weeks is the guidelines, because we know that long-term they have some very significant negative health consequences.
Sure.
So we really want to get to what's causing the reflux and indigestion and GORD in the first place. So there can be structural aspects, but commonly there's also stress. There could be digestive inhibition of the digestive capacity. There can be microbial imbalance. So we've talked before about the bugs in our gut and how important they are. Eating habits, there could be a whole host of different reasons. And these are things that are actually we're able to address, as a naturopath and working with this stuff all the time, trying to restore that microbial balance, trying to improve digestion, trying to reduce stress, trying to improve eating habits and food triggers. So these medications, they help, like we said, manage risk and symptoms, but they don't necessarily address the underlying root cause. And it's important not to demonize them. I don't want you to think that's what I'm doing, but it's understanding the whole picture. And that, yes, they're useful and yes, they could be appropriate, but we also need to dig deeper and address what's going on underneath.
Yeah. So from your perspective, what are some of the things that we could probably do to support the body while we're on the medications?
Well, first thing, we need to address any nutrient depletion. So with statins, it can really reduce our body's ability to produce CoQ10, which is a really important enzyme. An important antioxidant for the heart. And with the proton pump inhibitors, it really inhibits, because it's suppressing gastric acid. It means that we can't absorb certain minerals. So it can really put you at risk of iron deficiency, calcium, magnesium, B12. Lots of those nutrients which rely on that gastric acid to be absorbed. We also want to prevent any side effects from these as well. So, with the part of it would be addressing some of those nutrient depletions, but we also want to support the gastrointestinal tract in other ways as well, and really focus on nutrient dense and whole foods as well. And also, like we said, just coming back to addressing the cause. So long term, particularly with something like proton pump inhibitors, where we, really can't be on them for too long.
Right.
We want to be able to get to the bottom and start doing some work to restore what's causing the issue in the first place.
Yep, absolutely. And look, just to wrap up this morning, if people out there listening in this morning are a little bit sort of curious about that sort of more holistic or even integrative approach, but they sort of don't know where to start, what would you suggest to them to take the first step?
Yeah, I think start by thinking, changing your mindset to look at your body as a whole and focusing on the basics. So looking at your things you can already change just off your own bat with nutrition, meals and hydration and those types of things. And then I'd say I would seek the guidance of a qualified practitioner, particularly when there is more complex or chronic health issues at play, because they're going to really be able to guide you through and help you prioritize where you need to start and what the key issues are. I'd also say don't try and overhaul everything at once. There's no need to do that.
Right.
Start with what you're able to do and build on it, step by step. And this is where having a practitioner support can be very helpful, because they can help you make a more structured plan and know what you need to be working on at each various stage as well. The other thing, very important, be cautious of extremes or restrictive advice online or anyone that's promising any sort of magic pill or cure. That's a red flag.
Yep.
And think of it as a long-term investment in your health. Okay, not a quick fix, but you're putting that investment in so for the years to come down the track as well.
Yeah, some stellar advice there for sure. And now, look, if people want to maybe jump online and follow some of your work, read some of your great articles, your blogs, all the stuff that you've got on there, how can they do that this morning?
Yes, well, my website is kellik.com.au, so kellik.com.au, or I'd love for you to join me on Instagram or Facebook at kellik_naturopath or Kelli K Health on Facebook. follow along and be a part of the community there. That would be awesome.
Yep. Look, it's great chatting with you this morning, Kelly. We could let this run for another half hour at least. There's so many things I would love to, but look, we probably should do a part 2 at some point in the future, I think, because this is such a huge topic with a whole lot more depth that we could go into. So again, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You hold the line there. I'll get back to you very, very shortly as our wonderful friend Kelli Kieselbach there. So make sure go follow her on the socials, check out her website, and you got some great info there. Stay with us. This is Rhema Brekky. We've got the news next.